It's October 1962. I'm 9 years old, and I'm riding my bicycle down Nixon Street. That's a couple of blocks from bustling Main Street. I didn't know it then, but civil rights leaders like Dr. Gilbert Mason Sr. were being targeted statewide because of James Meredith's admission to Ole Miss. Riding my bike was one of the joys of East Biloxi in those days. Seeing the firebombed building gave me the blues. I wasn't afraid that day or any other. Faith, family had got me through. The folks on Main Street always counted on faith and family.
I felt the calling, the need, and felt God's calling upon me. I certainly ran from it because I did not want to enter into the ministry because my grandfather was in the ministry. But the Lord had other plans.
My family as a whole, my kids and wife, they're all Catholic. And they grew up right in our Mother Sorrows Catholic Church. I grew up right here on this church right here, which is First Missionary Baptist Church, Eric Dickey. My grandfather was a deacon, my grandmother was Holy Mother, whatever y'all call it in the Baptist church, and I'm still a member.
Like I was saying, and then our pastor used to be Reverend E.H. Potter, and he had New Bethel when we were little children, and that church is 114 years old. So we've grown up in the church. My parents grew up in that church. Their parents grew up in that church.
Let's say that one more time. Say, holy is the Lamb.
That wouldn't, all these churches in the community, they used to mean something when I was a kid. We used to stop when we used to go by the church, and we'd take our hat off. If it was a Catholic church, which was down the street, we'd stop and do this.
Rock and Rebels would play on Saturday nights at Sisphonian Lodge until early morning, and then, we'd go get a bite to eat at Hugo's Pizza House. So, but we're all Catholic, so to go to Mass the next day, we would look for the latest Mass of the day, which was at our Mother of Sorrows church on Division Street, which was essentially the black church, but it had always been integrated. We were welcome. We'd go there. We loved going there. The music was better than most Catholic churches.
Dr. Mason was a member of First Baptist. His wife Natalie was also a member. Gilbert Jr. was brought up in First Baptist. Everything happened in First Baptist. If there was a meeting to be held, if it wasn't held at New Bethel, it was held at First Baptist. It was the foundation of the community.
It would be nowhere without the black church, in the words of Mississippi-born Oprah Winfrey. Churches were, and still are, the cultural hubs of Main Street. The resilient Main Street residents believe faith made the impossible possible.
And that faith took me a long way, Some things that I thought were impossible, they became possible because I believed, I prayed.
Father's legacy to me was to love God, to treat everybody right. Because one thing he always told me, son, you can't live in this world by yourself, and what you do to other people reflects on you. But keep God first.
I've been in church all my life, and if I did not have that foundation and know what I know at my age, I could not have made it.
It wasn't me, it was God. It's the gift that he put into me and enabled me to learn.
So faith plays a major, major role in my life because I do not believe that I would be where I am today if it wasn't first for Abby and Roselle Horn planting that seed of spirituality in me and then helping me to develop it. There is a God somewhere, and eventually things are going to come through for you.
Faith was more than church in the Main Street community. Benevolent organizations like the Masons, the Eastern Star, the Elks, all were born out of the church. They played a significant role in contributing to the well-being of all of Main Street. But the enduring gift that always swept the blues away was family.
I come here often to the Pauper's Graveyard in the Biloxi Cemetery. I come to honor my grandfather, Cornelius Kemp Sr. I called him Boot. Even though I didn't know him very well, he gave me so much, a strong work ethic, and the light of hope.
I won my first election by, I think, 3 or 4 votes and served 4 years. And of course, he passed in the midst of that first term. And so every term thereafter, I dedicated my work in civic government to my grandfather.
The institution that God created was the family, and that was the basis for me for life.
Family, yeah, family was the essence of Main Street. But family meant more than just mom, dad, and sister, brother, and grandparents. Family included reverence and respect and responsibility for others.
The kind of takeaway from my growing up in this community here had to do with reverence for elders and for one another.
You got to understand, my father being blind for all those years, and it was my job to be his eyes, to do everything, and to dress him, to make sure he looked his best.
Family and friends, everybody took care of everybody. If it was elderly people in the neighborhood, my mother would go and take their blood pressures and do things for them that a nurse would do that would charge money.
When we were kids, if we were hungry, we can go to anybody's house and get something to eat and didn't have to even knock on their door.
If we were poor, we did not know it. I never went without a meal. I never slept outside like I see some people now.
I can remember easily riding my bike up and down the streets and going different places. And the first thing an adult will say, your parents know where you are? And that was one of my biggest one of my biggest fear. Yeah, she know where I'm at. They would go and pick up the phone and call her. Do you know where your grandson is? No, where is he? He way over here. And they come out and ask me, you better get home. Your parents don't know where you are. But that's the sort of freedom that I had, and I enjoyed it.
Those values that I inherited from my grandparents, Booker and Macy Gatlin, I don't know if I would have been the person I am today without that and this community giving me what they gave me.
But we had good camaraderie among the children and the families, because your family was like my family. If I did something wrong, I was gonna get whipped in and get home and get another one, So that's the way it was.